Today I will be doing a front brake job on my 7.2 FX Trek, which is just my little hybrid commuter bike. I've never done this before, so honestly this is going to be a little more of a vlog of me just kind of doing it rather than something super instructional, but I don't think it's going to be too difficult. So let's get on with it. So these are going to be a linear pull brake pad. I just got these bontrager, or however you say it. A Trek person was nice enough to help me out. But let's get this baggie open here, and here we go. Alright, so we have our brake pads here. They do have these conical washers all over, which we do need to pay attention to. I'm going to kind of leave them where they are. Seems like some kind of like silicone, maybe even a plastic. But these should be like pretty close to OEM replacements as recommended by the Trek people. So I'm going to be using my multi-tool that I have attached to my bike. It's really handy to have a kit on your bike that can like fit a lot of stuff, like a multi-tool Allen key kind of deal. There's one thing we want to really pay attention to is this outside bolt. Well, actually really it's a nut, but this stud is kind of adjustable here, so we want to pay close attention to that. And so I want to get a rough idea of where it sat. It does look like there's a bit of an imprint from the nut, so it might be fairly easy to see kind of where, but we want to make sure it's positioned right so that our brake pads are not basically like not touching the rim. Okay, so step number one is going to be basically slipping this cable out, which will release the brakes, but it has this nice little capped off area that we can just push in and remove it. So that spreads these pretty far apart for us. Hopefully they spread far apart enough to the point where we don't have to remove the wheel to do the brake job, which I'm trying to avoid. A lot of people say you do have to remove the wheel, but we'll see if we can get around it. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this first one here. Now, something really important that we got to pay attention to. Oh, yeah. That was pretty crusty, geez. We have to pay attention to the order of these washers and these little conical nuts. Alright, so we're just taking note of where all this is. And boom. Comparing them next to each other, honestly this pad seems a little larger, I have to say. But I mean, maybe that's a good thing. These are way more worn down. Seems like maybe an entirely different material. Oh well. It also looks like the orientation of our nuts here are all pretty similar. So I'm just gonna go ahead and install it like it was, kind of like that, where it had an opening in the middle. We're gonna try and do a rough guess of about where that washer was. Oops. Oh, that's interesting. So you gotta be kind of on the inside of the fork here. Isn't that funny? Probably want to try and touch it with your hands as little as possible. Kind of compare it to where the wheel is. And then probably tie it down when you feel like you have it lined up pretty well there. Looks like the pad rotated just a little. Alright, do the same on this side. Uh-oh. Wow. Looks like this pad is actually beginning to crack. We'll take a closer look at that. That's pretty interesting. A lot of brake dust on that one. So you can see a rough imprint of where the pad was, which is going to give me some guidance as to where about we will put it, and kind of place it against the rim to get a good idea of where, when it swings on this lever, it's going to make a little bit of an arc, We have to see where it's going to line up. When we're cranking it, we want to be sure that it doesn't turn, which is tough to do. That's looking pretty good. So on our rear pads, we're really just going to do the same thing. Just pull the cable out to disconnect it. Fairly easy. Remove it using a Allen key, hex, whatever you'd like to call it. Take it off, reassemble it the way it was, which might be helpful for you. Go ahead and unthread that carefully. No. Okay, I was gonna say worst case scenario, if you lose some hardware, you can probably take some from the old set. I mean, ultimately, you probably do want to replace the hardware. If you absolutely had to, you can just take it from your old pads, I suppose. But I almost misplaced those for a moment. Again, looking at our witness mark or our stamp to see kind of roughly where these go. And then I'm going to go ahead and hold these pads. When your brakes come in and you're pulling as hard as you can, that's going to be like the final resting place of the brakes, right? So if we just kind of push the pad up against the rim and then kind of tighten it where it is, we should be in a pretty good spot. Except I don't like that. Now we really do want to mind the fact that this will twist as we are tightening it. So we might even want to support the pad on that side to prevent that, but it still looks like I'm hitting. So we'll just pull it way, way in here. We keep running into this problem that when I tighten it, it rotates. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And that rim really seems like it moves in a lot, which I don't like. But that's probably somewhat normal. Alright, next side. So, we're going to try and get this side. Might be a little tougher to film. Bam. All of these pads look like they're cracked at the base of the stud. So I'm just going to go ahead and reconnect the cables and go around and double check my work. Okay. All right. We're just going to double check these two. Make sure we're all tight. And get the cable back on. Alright, I am going to have to tighten this cable. Now, my bike basket is very much interfering with this brake, which it kind of was doing before, but now it is worse, which is annoying. I could have this installed wrong, and I'm probably going to have to solve that tonight. I think if I turn these around, maybe it'll work. That's my my theory right now. So I'm going to go ahead and at least undo this, which were already loose and needed to be adjusted. I guess those are not super tight either. So I just went on a little test drive. Everything feels pretty good to me. The brakes feel decent. I think you want to follow a little bit of a brake-in procedure and try and avoid being too hard on them when they're new, and keep in mind that they probably have a little bit of a bedding process. So I have 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to use this to clean off the rim. And I'm using this instead of like brake cleaner because apparently this is something that is a lot safer and friendlier around rubber and other stuff compared to brake clean. Brake clean can be a very harsh chemical. Just gonna give that a big wipe. So we're starting from a relatively fresh mating surface for our new pads here. That'll show you where the cuts are. All right, and that will complete my first brake job. Definitely pretty needed and pretty satisfying to do. Not quite as hard as a car brake job. Still very simple, very satisfying to do, and the new brakes feel amazing. One of the big things that made me change these brakes was just a reduced braking capacity, and so as these pads get worn out, they don't stop as well. So it was great to get rid of those. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. This has been a little fun on the bike. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know if you enjoy this kind of content, if you like working on all kinds of machines. Don't forget to check the description for any products I used in this video. There may be some useful stuff for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.